Yo, I kind of want to take this moment and talk about some of the events that has transpired over the past couple of days. Considering that it is going to be mentioned in my podcast today that you're listening to. First off, I want to say that I did not see any of this coming. I kind of was mentioning it and talked about how anarchy and maybe civil unrest could be the possibility when people become tired of all the injustices that is happening right now. But honestly speaking, all the stuff that has transpired in the last couple of days are just utterly disgusting. Just for the simple fact, I've been watching the news the whole entire time of when they were protesting and seeing all the riots and the looting that was happening. I was really disgusted by it. I, for one, was not trying to point anybody in a direction of destruction like this. And yeah, we could all say, like, out here in Cali, that the places that got looted were just basic high-end places. But at the same time, we are taking away people's jobs who have nothing to do with what was going on in Minnesota. So yeah, I just wanted to give my little piece about that. I mean, unfortunately, a man has lost his life to some crooked cops. Rest in peace, George Floyd. Hopefully he does get the justice that he deserves. But unfortunately, we do see this all the time within the black community where a cop assaults a black person or murders a black person unarmed for an alleged crime, and they get no type of consequences for that action. Now, in the past couple of days, this has got to be the first time where they took swift action and actually arrested one of the officers, the main officer who murdered George Floyd. But hopefully there is some justice and some persecution to those following officers that were also involved and that were onlookers or people who just did not say anything when this assault was happening. And also, I like to say that not all cops are bad, We should all know that not all cops are bad. I got a few friends that are in the police force, and they're good people. They don't hate nobody. They are not racist against anyone. They just don't like the fuck shit. And basically what happened today was fuck shit. Maybe this whole anarchy situation might move a couple of things within our government. But what we need to do is take that same energy that a lot of these looters or troublemakers or radicals were doing. We need to take that into the polling booths. We need to take that to our leaders in the government. We need to go and elect people that we know that can handle the job, that care about our communities. How are we going to bring change if we're not the ones bringing it? No one outside of our community is going to care about our community like we care about it. But I don't want to sit here and preach about everything about what we need to do and how we could change things. I just want to make it clear right now that I was not for the fuck shit. I was just making a statement. And when I was making that statement, I wasn't trying to lead anybody into doing anything. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the show. Peace. It ain't the Terra Dome. Neither. I swear, I love this intro, bro. And this theme. Cue the applause for me real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I know y'all can hear this voice now, man. We on some new level shit, bro. Oh man. But yeah, it's your boy Walter Doom back for another episode of Let's Talk About Horror, the horror podcast where I talk about any and everything related to the genre. And as y'all are just grooving to the sounds like, hey, sway, kick it, hey. You know, I see that you guys have no crappy sounds coming through, or if anybody knows, you're not getting any crappy sounds coming through. Yep. As this intro plays, I just want to say, like, man, I had to go and get a new mic on y'all. I had to flip it up on you guys real quick. I had to do it. Last podcast was probably like the last straw, and I was just like, nah, bro, this can't happen anymore. I need something new. So yeah, I mean, if you guys actually checked out my Instagram story, which I actually do more stories than actual posts. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, you would know that. And I posted on my story that I have like a new sound system going on. Well, just a new mic and all that. Cause that one was actually needed more than anything. Cause I don't know. I mean, eventually equipment gets old. So you gotta change that shit up one day. But anyway, how y'all doing? How's it been? Did y'all check out the last episode? Oh man, but yeah, we are still in quarantine and shit, y'all. I mean, I don't know how y'all are doing with that shit, dealing with that shit. You know, for the first responders and people who are on the lines out there, hey, we give praise to y'all every day. Y'all are doing a good job. Gotta send my thank you to those people out there doing the damn thing, those essential workers. I mean, I'm barely an essential worker myself, but I'm still out there doing my due diligence and whatever the hell they want me to do at my job. So, yeah. But, you know, for those people out there that are like struggling right now and, you know, dealing with unemployment, either with one parent or both parents and all that, and you know, we're struggling to make rent and shit like that, it's bull fucking shit. But I hope for the next hour, if it is that with this podcast, y'all know how I talk, hopefully I can keep you guys entertained if you guys are horror fans, you know, which I mean, I'm pretty sure you are if you're listening to this podcast. And since we are talking about horror, you guys know, since maybe for some of you guys that listens to me, I have been on a month of watching clown movies. And I gotta say, it's a very interesting experience to do that, because I haven't really watched clown movies. They're not usually my first initial thought of watching. You get me? I mean, I'm usually gravitating more towards like the mainstream horrors, or like a slasher B horror, or just a B horror that has lots of tits in it. I'm just saying, man. I mean, who doesn't like tits and ass? I love me some tits and ass, so I'll be the first one to admit that. I love me tits and ass. Oh man, but yeah, so this month I've been watching, or depending on when you're listening, the month of May, I should say, I've been watching clown movies. The only reason why I've been choosing to watch clown movies is because I did a poll on my Instagram story. Again, I do a lot more stories than anything else, and I made a decision of either should I put well, should not put, but should I watch clown movies or watch witch movies? And a lot of people chose clowns, surprisingly. I mean, I thought people were more into the witch films. I don't know, maybe that's just me and my thoughts, but I chose clown movies. So, in the last episode, I talked about a certain clown movie that I've watched, which was a clown series, which was Killjoy. And I mentioned that how much I kind of really enjoyed the series itself for just particular reasons. I mean, it's not really much of like a great horror film series, but it is definitely a B horror that's very entertaining. And to me, I mean, I think it's entertaining. But if you guys aren't really into B horror movies, I mean, that's you. But if you are kind of like into the B horror, you could definitely check this movie out. This movie is definitely worth the watch. I mean, it starts off as an urban horror with the first 2 films, and then it journeys into its own life with the next 3 films as more of a comedy horror. But right now, I'm about to recap on some of the horror movies that I've watched during the month and just tell you guys like whether I liked them, whether they were meh. Well, basically, it's like a list. It's a list of movies that are good, some that are meh, and then some that are just god awful. That either you, if you want to check it out, you could check it out, but I would advise you skipping it. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about these films. I'm gonna just give you guys more of the premise and maybe a few details of my thoughts. Maybe a couple of movies I'll probably go into a little more detail, but other than that, I'm just giving you guys a quick synopsis of what I watched throughout the month.
Here's Johnny.
All right, so for the first movie that I want to talk about Clown Motel. This is a 2019 film that is a paranormal film more than anything else. What happens is that it follows a group of ghost hunters who are coming from an old ghost town, and they're trying to travel their way to, I guess, try and find like another ghost town, some more paranormal activities for their YouTube page. While also they come across this bachelorette party who is coming from Las Vegas, and they're trying to travel to Los Angeles. What happens is that when the group meets up, they're both stranded in the middle of nowhere, and they end up at this ghost motel. What seems like a deserted ghost motel ends up being something a little bit more than what it is, and it's basically like your regular paranormal type films dealing with like haunted ghosts or haunted houses type film. I mean, it was definitely good. I saved a few positives. Was definitely the acting, the backstory behind it, because with this ghost motel is that the people who were inhabiting it were just a bunch of clowns, and what happens is that they end up getting murdered by a group of people who hate clowns. So basically they get killed, and ever since then, I mean, now there's just a curse on the place, and they're now kind of like haunting the whole entire hotel. What's also interesting is definitely like the ending of the story. As of course you guys should know, there's spoilers ahead. But at the end of the story is that when they do try and escape, I mean, they go through like a whole bunch of fuck shit that happens throughout the film, and just a lot of like clowns deceiving them, leading them out, baiting them, you know, kind of like normal monsters and ghouls and what they'll do. What happens is that one of the characters in the story, they come across this journal, and since she's like an avid reader, she pretty much reads the journal and figures that probably what they have to do is find a way to lift the curse. So they end up traveling to like this mountain. The actual remaining survivors in the film, they travel to this mountain, this cave and what have you. And what happens is that in this cave, it's not really a place where they could find like a burial where they could actually end the curse, but they end up actually going through limbo and coming back to the motel, which shows like there's no end to what's going on with them. A few negatives is like, to be honest, the clowns, I mean, as much as it was entertaining. They had no motivations of why they were haunting these people in the first place. And I feel like just because I guess they were regular town people or whatever, and they just so happened to be at this motel, they just went on a killing spree. I could say one thing that was really crazy about this film was, and it was probably like maybe the most disturbing, but one of the characters that was like one of the ghost hunters got raped by one of the clowns. I mean, it was so weird and disturbing, but it was probably like one of the most disturbing scenes that you could probably see in a film like this. But yeah, that's just my thoughts about that. That's Clown Motel. If you want to check that out, you can check that one out on Amazon. Like I mentioned before, also Killjoy, that one is on Tubi. If you guys are interested in Tubi, I'm not going to talk about Killjoy today because I've talked about it in the last podcast. So we're going to keep moving. The next movie that was really good that I checked out was Devil's Carnival. And what it is what I didn't know was a musical. So it's kind of like Repo the Genetic Opera, or like Sweeney Todd the Devil Barber or Demon Barber with Johnny Depp. But what happens in this movie is that a bunch of lost souls enter the Devil's Carnival where they're faced with their sins that they committed during their life. So what was good about this film? One, it was very star-studded because this movie is also by Darren Lynn Bousman, who is also involved with the Saw series and also the Spiral movie that's supposed to be coming out pretty soon. It also stars Jessica Lowndes, who was on 90210, and when I saw her, I was just like, man, be still my beating heart. Nah. I just say, like, you know, she was hot on 90210, and she was definitely hot in this film too. But we're not gonna get into all this WCW this WCW shit. But Bill Moseley, he was also in the film, and also was Alexa Vega. What was also interesting about this movie that I also liked was for the simple fact that it did deal with like a bunch of souls who didn't really know that they died in the film. I mean, throughout this film, you know what's pretty much going on with these lost souls, but the souls themselves don't know what's happening to them. Like with Tamara, who is played by Jessica Lowndes, she her sin was that she was too trusting of everybody, and the boyfriend that she was putting her trust in ended up killing her. Another character named John, played by Sean Patrick Flannery, his sin was that he was grieving over his son a little bit too much, and he was just like over grieving to the point that he committed suicide. Also, another character, Ms. Marywood, was played by Brianna Evigan, and she was a kleptomaniac who died in a hell of gunfire by police. And what happened was that what's interesting about their sins and how they kind of like repeat those sins was John, who, like, again, these souls don't know that they're dead. Honestly, they really don't know. But John, he's spending all his time looking for his son because right before he died, or he completely lost his soul from his body, he ends up seeing his son because he commits suicide in the bathroom, and he sees his son with the devil himself, and he's like chasing after him and whatever. So he's pretty much thinking that his son is in this carnival lost somewhere when literally his son's been dead for like some time. Same thing with Jessica Lowndes. She put her trust into her boyfriend that ended up killing her. And what happens is that she goes into this carnival and she's in a different outfit, like this whole little, like, I guess, little house on the prairie outfit. But either way, it's like a little schoolgirl outfit. Well, I don't want to say a schoolgirl. It's more like a little girl from like the 1950s or 40s or some shit like that. But either way, like, she's putting her trust in this guy that she just met so blindly, and he ends up killing her anyway. Just like how her technically he would be her ex-boyfriend, just like how her ex-boyfriend did when she was living. And the sad part about it too is that she even still went into trusting the devil when she seen him. Like, her soul just was completely lost. which made everything pretty much an interesting story about that. And Miss Marywood, this would have to be the most, like, I guess, I don't want to say scintillating, but stimulating for all the guys out there. once when you see what happens to her. Oh man, but yeah, like, she was a kleptomaniac, and when she was in hell, because I literally am just gonna call it hell because that's literally what it was, but she's in hell and she's pretty much stealing everything that she sees, like everything nice. She sees diamonds, she sees like bracelets and pendants and shit like that, and she's just taking and taking and taking. Eventually she comes across this humongous diamond that she's trying to see, because when the characters in there in the carnival, they tell her about this diamond and they're trying to point her in the direction of it. So what they're trying to do is test her to see if she's not going to steal anymore. This bitch is going to still go out stealing, and then she trying to steal the big diamond. But the carnival carny is like, or the carnival demon, I should say, plays games with her. And as she's trying to like make this coin into an egg, because the bet was all you have to do is make a coin in the egg and you get to take the diamond. You know, no problems, no one will stop you, none of that shit. What happens is that while she's trying to throw the coins in the egg, as she is standing there trying to throw these coins into this egg, they're still in all her jewelry. She has this fur coat on. They steal the fur coat. She has this dress on. When they stole the dress, I was like, oh, now we really talking. Like, she didn't have no bra on or anything like that. And they put her in like some kind of room where like she's just like butt ass naked. I mean, she got like panties on and what have you, right? And what's happening is that they're kind of humiliating her for like being a thief and everything like that. And what happens is that she ends up getting whipped by one of the demons also, as she's just standing there trying to pull herself away from these demons. So yeah, I mean, it's a definitely interesting movie to watch. The only negative part about it is that it's a showtunes type movie. So if you're not really into showtunes music like me, I mean, I'm not really into like musicals like that. I mean, if it's good, I'll sit and watch it. Like, I thought Sweeney Todd, the songs on Sweeney Todd were really good. I really do love the songs on Sweeney Todd. I have never seen Little Shop of Horror. I mean, I've seen parts of Little Shop of Horror because my older sister, she had the movie and she really loved that film. I mean, she's the one that really loved movies like that, like Grease, Little Shop of Horror. I mean, she did all that shit when she was in high school. I wasn't a fan of any of that shit, really. Which, like, I only know, like, maybe a few songs from Little Shop of Horror, and that's about it. But other than that, I'm not really into it. I haven't seen Rocky Horror Picture Show or any of that shit. So, yeah, I mean, it's very, minuscule for me. I mean, I did see Repo, and I thought Repo was cool, but with that musical, I mean, it was a rock opera, so it was way different from what was happening in The Devil's Carnival. And there's a sequel too, so I'm gonna probably end up watching that like before this month is over. But moving on, next to another movie is Gags the Clown, which came out in 2018, and it's pretty much a found footage movie. What happens is that an unidentified man in Green Bay, Wisconsin has captured worldwide attention for roaming the streets dressed as a clown. Many write it off as a harmless prank, others aren't sure. When a group of friends cross paths with the clown, everyone calls Gags. His true intentions are revealed. The only reason why I like this film mainly because it plays on the whole Wrinkles the Clown incident, or like the various clown sightings that was happening in 2016, 2017, when chapter 1 was like being a thing and people didn't know why the fuck there were so many people out there dressed as clowns, just appearing at all random times at the night. I really don't have many negatives to say about this movie, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the meh clown movies. And the first meh clown movie I want to talk about is Clowntown, which is a 2016 slasher film. Now, this movie is very interesting because this movie is focusing on some group of friends who end up deserted in a town that is overrun by psychopathic clowns. What is good about this film is that they did desertion right. What had happened was, like, there was this big train accident, and I guess the train was their main source of income for that small town. And what happens is that after that whole economic plummet from that accident, a group of girls start going missing / murder. And sure enough, like, this family who are very clown obsessed start going on this murderous spree and start scaring a lot of people to the point they don't even want to go outside anymore. The only negatives I have to really say about this film is just the clowns and their tactics. You know, they're known for killing off people on sight whenever they see them. But in this film, all they did was capture most of the victims in this film, like mainly the people who are the main cast of this film. And to me, I felt like it just was a way to have the movie kind of like give away some exposition and what have you. Like with the main character, Brad, he ends up finding like out that one of the clowns is related to the mother who kind of spawned all this clown craziness in the first place, you know, and that the boy that we see in the beginning of the film, he's actually one of the clowns who is actually killing people right now. And it's like, I don't get why they have to have this exposition, but eventually like a couple of the characters do get killed off in the film. It doesn't make sense, basically, to me. I guess it just, in a way, it didn't like seem like it should have happened, or like it should have been written that way, because I just felt like, well, if you're going to kill them now, you guys should have killed them back then. Why try and kill them now? That doesn't make sense, you know? But moving forward, the next movie that was kind of meh to me was Clown, which was the Eli Roth produced film. And this one is more of a body horror film. So this film is dealing with like a dad who is slowly but surely becoming this ancient clown who has a cursed costume that he cannot take off. And the only way he could really take off the costume is if he kills like 5 kids for each season of the winter season or some shit like that. What makes this movie so interesting to me, which is like the only positive, is just that the body horror of it is dealing with like the clown and the transformation, and just seeing like the main character played by Andy Powers turning into this clown, which is named Frowny the Clown, which is a real bad name, I guess. I mean, I've heard other bad names in these other clown films, but yeah, this clown is just like a very demonic clown that just eats children. And just to see like some of these kids get brutalized. I mean, you don't actually see the brutalization of these kids, by the way, but just to see like, you know, some of them get brutalized by him chopping them in half or just like straight up eating them and all that. You kind of just like go whoa half the time. But the only bad thing about this movie, it felt very long. I mean, I know it's an hour and 40 minutes, which is not really a long. It's pretty standard for like a lot of films, but this one just felt like they could have cut off some time with it, I felt like, you know. But I don't know, that like again, it just felt very meh to me. I mean, it did a lot of things right, but at the end of the day, I didn't really care for too much of the film. But I didn't hate it either, so that's why it belongs here. All right, the next one on my meh list, which is the last one, is Clown Camp Massacre, which came out in 2010, and it's a comedy slasher. What happens in this film is that 15 years after an entire school was massacred by a vengeful graduate, an old man reopens a clown academy, and then a list of brutal murders start happening again. So yeah, with this film, it takes a lot from like camp films or the campy type films like Sleepaway Camp or Friday the 13th. It mainly takes a lot from Friday the 13th. And it's not bad at all per se, but yeah, you do get the feeling like it's Friday the 13th with a bunch of clowns, and that's literally what it is. But I gotta say, with this film, which is some of the positives and the reason why it did end up on my med list, is that it's very fucking disturbing. Like, this has got to be, like, if it was like a straight up horror film and not a comedy, and I feel like that's why it gets away with like a lot of the stuff that's happening in it, it's because it's a comedy, and this stuff is like very disturbing if you just like take away the comedy aspect. So yeah, I mean, you get clown titties in this movie, you get clown sex, like clown on clown sex, and you get necrophilia in the middle of this clown sex, man. So what I mean by, like, there's a scene, and it's a list of other shit that happens too, but in this scene, like, there's these two clowns who are all up on each other. So eventually these clowns have sex. By then, like, this clown that is seeking revenge on everyone, he finally made his way to like the clown camp and everything. So these two clowns are having sex. There's a noise that happens, of course. The guy goes check it out like any other horror flick. When he comes back, his girl is still sitting there with her ass arched up and everything. And it's a nice ass, by the way, might I have to add. But that's enough objectifying for one day. I'm lying. I'm probably going to objectify someone else even more. I mean, I wouldn't be me if I didn't do it. But yeah, the clown girl's ass is still, hiked up and everything, and it's still like, bent over and everything. So the dude starts going back in it. He starts having sex with her again. What he thinks is still a living woman is his girl's head severed, and he was just fucking a dead body, and fucking that dead body made him come and everything. So it was like, I'm looking at this shit and I'm just like, this has got to be the most disturbing thing if it wasn't a comedy. And then not only that, there was a clown who was watching. He was watching those two, and I believe he died before like the girl got her head decapitated. But either way, the point being is that there's this clown. He was watching him, and what this clown is known for is jacking his dick off everywhere he goes, which is so weird. And he asks people, do they want to see his wiener? And what makes it worse is that the clown's name is Squirts. So yeah, with a clown named Squirts, and he shows his dick off everywhere he goes, and he jacks his dick off everywhere he goes, it gotta be something really disturbing to that shit. You know what I'm saying? But either way, Squirts is actually out there looking at the two clowns having sex. And what happens to Squirts is that while he's jacking off, he gets his throat slashed. And as he's dying, this dude comes. But what makes it worse is that he actually comes on himself, like on his own face and everything. Like, the shit squirts everywhere. And just to see that imagery on the screen with like the cum and blood just mixing all together like that, I was just like, wow, this has got to be some shit I do not ever want to see again. I'm sorry, but yeah, I gotta say, this movie was definitely very gory. I mean, and it was very disturbing. And on top of all, we get a clown orgy. Like, we get an orgy with clowns and these girls that just make it over to the clown camp, which I don't even know where the fuck these girls came from for them to find them. I mean, I believe they're prostitutes, but that's just another story for another time. The only thing I would have to say, which is so negative about this film, is there was just no story at all. Like, this shit was just all over the place, honestly. I mean, I get it. It was a story about this killer clown. Well, not even a killer clown, but a clown who became a killer. And yeah, I mean, he got away or whatever, you know? And to me, I'm like, okay, he comes back to kill everybody from the camp. Like, what is he not satisfied with the camp being closed? But then here's the thing. I don't get like the world also, because the world at first seemed like it was filled with just clowns. Like the world was going to be like a clown world. But then in the middle of the film and towards the ending, that you see all these regular people, including like the ending, which was like a huge disaster film. But I mean, this movie didn't take itself to begin with anyway. So I'm not really going to hate on the story too much, because honestly, there was no story to begin with anyway, which, even though it's a negative, I just thought the ending was even more disastrous, because after everything that happens, there's one clown left standing, and then all of a sudden everything is like, surprise, you're on a game show. And to me, I'm just like, oh no, not one of those endings. I really hate those cop-out endings, seriously. Like, why? Like, why even do that? Why do that to us? But yeah, that was the last movie on my Met list. Now, on to my the worst films to watch. First one on my list is Clown, which is a 2019 film, which is a paranormal slasher. And this movie is dealing with a group of teens who are fighting for their lives as they find themselves trapped in a fun house, stalked by a killer clown who won't rest until every one last one of them are pretty much dead. Positives, none. Negatives, a lot. Bad story, bad acting, ran too long. And it just seemed like a movie that was supposed to be like a Nickelodeon film or some shit like that, but it so happened to have like some type of R rating or a PG-13 rating. Too many off-screen kills. Moving on. Next one, Wrinkles the Clown. Terrible. I'm sorry. And it's supposed to be a documentary comedy horror. I did not see the comedy in it. Was nice to hear about why people care about wrinkles or what wrinkles was used for, you know, but as far as me caring about this documentary, pass. Just a pass. Huge pass. Next one is Drive Thru, which is also a slasher film. And this is dealing with like a high school student saving like town people from being murdered by a clown who works at a fast food joint. But actually it's literally just a clown mascot based from a fast food joint, not a person that works there. And positives, none. Negatives, a lot. I'm sorry, but the biggest negative of this movie is that this movie takes almost like a Nightmare on Elm Street type, I guess, storyline with it, where like the killer is killing off a bunch of kids of parents who actually killed this one kid who was trying to be these kids' friends. Well, the parents, when they were kids' friends, and all they did was pick on them or some shit like that. Either way, it basically, the parents killed this one kid, and now their kids are paying for it. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Nothing more, nothing less to it. I mean, I didn't care for that shit. Moving forward. And the last one that's on this list, Clowner Guys, which is a 2017 film, which is a paranormal horror. And the premise of this movie is that this girl named Emma, which is a college student, has a crippling fear of clowns and must come face to face with her worst fear when an evil spirit in the body of a clown terrorizes her town. Positives, they got jump scares. And just besides the jump scares, which is also a negative on me because I am not a fan of jump scare movies, honestly speaking. I mean, they do too much fake outs most of the time, and it's like, okay, bro, like, we don't need the dramatic music. I mean, I could deal when jump scares are actually more logical, like they just pop out on you just out of nowhere. I hate it when they have that built up music, and like in Friday the 13th, like they have that built up music, and then all of a sudden you get that jump scare, or you get that fake jump scare, where like there's not a jump scare at all. They were just like fucking with you, I know a lot of people who aren't big horror fans, they usually like those type of movies because that's just what they see horror movies as. But me personally, I don't care for it. I feel like it's pointless to use because there's different ways you can kind of scare people without having like all the jump scare music and the jump scare actions just like every 5 minutes or some shit like that. But I do like the fact that they did have a movie about facing your fears, and I thought that was like a really good message with this film. Like, you gotta face your fears sometime about whatever the fuck you're afraid of and what have you. But other than that, the story, it was very terrible because what ends up happening is that this clown named Ribcage was terrorizing all these damn people, but it ends up being that this clown is being controlled by this ice cream man who knows all these people because I guess they're in a small town. He has control of the clown, but at the same time, he's afraid of clowns, which doesn't make sense at all. It was a disaster flick nonetheless. I guess the only high points about this was probably some of the character actresses in the film, and that's about it for me. Oh man. But I really do need to call this the thirsty cast. Oh man, the most I be talking about like some of these female actresses, man. Ain't like I'm meeting them in real life, bro. But we're gonna go ahead and take a break real quick, and when I come back, I'm gonna be talking about some of the news with you guys. So like you shouldn't say in a scary movie, I'll be right back.
What's your favorite scary movie?
And we are back, motherfuckers. Alright, so let me clear up a couple of things for you guys. So last week I talked about the Scream 5, rumors and everything like that. And I've mentioned that Neve Campbell was going to be part of it. Ooh, but actually, real talk is she's only in negotiations. So let me clear that up for you guys. She's only in negotiations with Spyglass right now. She hasn't been confirmed or anything like that. The movie still is dealing with like new showrunners that they're trying to get in the film. David Arquette is literally just the only one really confirmed for the film. So, this could be a film where it's just David Arquette is playing like a minor role in the film while there's like new showrunners, happening. And maybe Neve Campbell has a cameo appearance in the end or what have you, kind of like with Halloween with the new one that came out. I only read about that shit. I haven't seen that shit yet. But for those that wanted clarifications or like probably listened to the report and was like, nigga, that ain't right. But yeah, just to clear a couple of things up on Matthew Lillard, I still don't see how he could be part of this film. It doesn't make any sense at all. Stu was definitively killed. Let's call it what it is. He was definitively just like out of commission, But anyway, moving on. So how many of you guys seen that new Antebellum trailer? I can't wait to see this shit. So for some of you guys that probably don't know, the premise of this movie is that this character named Veronica Henley, who is a successful author, finds herself trapped in a horrifying reality and must uncover the mind-bending mystery before it's too late. Now, when I was reading the reports and seeing the trailer to this movie, I thought this movie was more of like a Birth of the Nation meets Back to the Future. But my thing is like, so is she time traveling back to a pre-Civil War period? Or is she kidnapped into like, is she kidnapped and she is stuck in an area that is stuck in a pre-Civil Civil War period, because I mean that would make the movie very interesting to me. I mean, just to see like how they gonna treat this whole, if it really is the later. I really can't wait to see what this movie looks like. You know, I believe it's supposed to come out in August. That's if the coronavirus isn't still, or COVID-19 for some of you touchy people out there, is still having everybody running around like scared ass bitches. I'm just saying. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of tired of COVID and all that, and bruh, I'm telling you right now. I mean, I can't wait till everything gets back to normal. Some of the places I've been to, I just swear, like everywhere I go, everybody is scared shitless. Like even if you just breathe in the air, they're like, "Oh my god, COVID," you know. But I mean, I get it. We have to be taking extreme measures as much as possible. But I'm just tired of this shit. I really am. You know, I have to remember each time I go out, wear a mask. We have to social distance and all this other shit. I mean, it's just like, bro, give me a fucking break. And then some people, they just fucking rude. I feel like some people just fucking rude as hell to me for whatever reason possible. I mean, I'm just as like a much of a clueless person as anybody else about this whole shit, you know. I'm not trying to do anything to overstep the boundaries, but I mean, I don't know whether it's like, I don't know, racism or whatever, or some shit like that. But whatever, bro. And speaking of racism, how many of y'all heard about this latest shit that's been going on lately with this police murder and that's been happening? I mean, and I kind of wanted to take this moment also to talk about that shit. Like, this shit is getting kind of fucking out of hand, honestly. I mean, how many times are we going to sit there, see a report about a black person, innocent or not? I mean, because I don't know what they were doing. Either way, they're killing a unarmed black person on the streets, on video camera. And, you know, for a lot of us, we thought body cams was going to be the lifesaver. Oh, my God. I mean, shit. Some of the people I was hearing was like, yeah, we got body cams now. Now we could expose these motherfuckers. And now these motherfuckers got to watch what they do. You know, but it looks like body cams ain't doing shit for us right now, man. You know, between the motherfucker that got killed and, I'm sorry, I shouldn't even be saying like the motherfucker that got killed. Between the one guy that gets killed in Minnesota to the other guy that was killed while running, I don't know. It just seems like it's getting to that point of just like, it's tiresome. It's real tiresome. Like, what do we have to do to kind of restructure all this? You know, me personally, I'm tired of hearing about the shit, you know, and I'm just like, it gets to the point where like, what is not clicking with these people, you know? But I see like the dudes that did kill the guy up in Minnesota, they are being tried, and well, they're not being tried. They actually got fired from the police force, but they're not being tried for murder. At least I don't believe they are. I mean, I haven't heard anything about it. I mean, last thing I heard was it was all under investigation at the moment. But, and I can't remember what happened to the father and son that killed the other black guy, but I believe they got arrested and they were tried, but I don't know what's happening with that at the moment. But yeah, it just gets to the point of just like, when is enough going to be enough? I mean, I don't know. To me, I feel like, do we need another 92 riots? And that was even more crippling back then. Like, do we need another uprising like we did in 92? You know, with the whole Rodney King shit. I mean, because when that shit happened, shit cracked off out here in LA, man. I mean, I remember that shit, but I was a little kid. But I remember being a little kid and, you know, just hearing my mom tell me, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to be in the house and in the house only. So I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know if we need that. I mean, do we really need another uprising like that? I mean, I remember with the whole Trayvon Martin thing, and when George Zimmerman got off, you know, a lot of people was pissed, and a lot of black folks was just losing their damn minds out in these streets, man. Like, out there just doing shit that I just feel like shouldn't be happening. I mean, I could get with the protests, you know, whether it's like passive or aggressive. You know, sometimes we need that aggressive, that aggressive protesting, because it's like some people just don't fucking get it. I mean, look how long it took for civil rights to happen, you know, and Martin Luther King had to lose his life for that shit, bro. But yeah, and just to see like what happened in 92, like I mentioned with the Rodney King riots, is like, well, I shouldn't call it the Rodney King, but if you're from LA and you're my age, I mean, you know it as that. You know, a lot of people call it the LA riots or the South Central riots, which I've gentrification, man, before they changed that shit to just South LA and shit like that. But I don't know. I feel like I'm going on a tangent right now, but it was a tangent that really needs to be stated. I can feel like talking about it is one thing, but I just feel like there needs to be like a real solution, honestly. Like, what do we need to do with restructuring? Because I feel like that's what a lot of America needs. A lot of restructuring, man. Because we're functioning on all these old laws, all old values. And I just feel like we need to just like take all this shit apart. You know, like we're one of the few countries that hasn't really like uprise and restructured the whole government, you know? So I just feel like that's something that really needs to happen, but I don't want to harp on this too long. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, if you don't like what the fuck I'm saying, I mean, you might as well just not listen to me at all. But anyway, moving on with the news. We're going to talk about Don Mancini and the Chucky series. So Don Mancini was on a chat with Sci-Fi Wire on May 21st, and they were having like a Child's Play watch party. And during this interview, he actually talked about the Chucky series. So he kind of teased a couple of things about the series. He kind of teased about the story and like how it's going to go back straightforward to horror, but they're trying to expand not only on just like what they did in the first 2 films, but just basically with all 7 films period. So we're probably going to see some overlapping with like the TV series. He also said like there's going to be familiar faces that are going to pop up on the TV show. So as of like I guess the article that I was reading, they only confirmed like Jennifer Tilly. And yeah, she's the only one that's really confirmed that's going to be on the TV show. So we're kind of waiting to see if Fiona Dourif is actually going to be part of the TV show. She hasn't confirmed anything. In the article I remember reading, when they actually brought up those 2 actresses, you know, they weren't really confirmed at first, or they weren't actually going to be part of the TV show at first. But now they're kind of flipping on that, and they do want to kind of like have those characters kind of be part of it. So we might see Fiona's character on there. We might see some Andy Barclay, you know, some Alex Vincent. Maybe we get some answers about what happened and all that shit, you know. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait till this Chucky series come up. He also mentioned that Chucky will also be using like, I guess he'll be sharpening his skills. He'll be using like some new tactics, strategies, new weapons, and what have you. So, I mean, it just sounds like all out. This sounds like a really good series, man. That's about to be popping off pretty soon. So, yeah, I can't wait till that comes out. No date has been given out yet, but yeah, let's cross our fingers and hope that it's good. And the last thing on the news that I want to talk about today is Richard Hurt passing away at 87. If you guys don't know who Richard Hurt is, he was in the movie Get Out. He played Roman Armitage, who was the founder of the Order of the Coagula. So basically, if you guys seen the movie, he's the one that was the dad. Well, not the dad, but the granddad. The one that was in the videos that the family just kept talking about and talking about how great he was and this, that, and the other. So basically, the granddad was the one who came up with the operations and the process of like taking black people and taking away their consciousness or whatever body parts that white people wanted from them and putting it on them. So yeah, but this guy, he's been in many roles, been in many movies, TV shows, and all that. He was on shows like Mask. He was in the movie Trancers, and he was also on the show Tales of the Crypt. He was actually on an episode of that. But mainly known for, at the moment, from a lot of us, but mainly me, as the grandfather that was in Get Out. So yeah, he passed away at 87. I don't really remember what his death was, but I think it was just natural causes, I believe. But if not, I pretty much don't know. But I mean, if anything comes up, I will correct it. But anyway, let's all just have a moment of silence for his life, like we did last time for John LaFia, and just take a moment to pay respects to this man. I mean, if you guys are a fan of his work, you know, you guys will probably know more information about him than I do, because the only thing I know about him is just him being in the movie Get Out. But let's go ahead and pay respects. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much our show for today. You guys, felt like I was kind of moving today with this shit. But anyway, as part of like the outro, I usually have a movie of the week. I didn't give you guys a movie of the week last time, so I owe you one. And the movie of the week that I want to suggest to you guys is Clown Motel, which is what I talked about earlier in the podcast. So definitely check it out. If you guys have Amazon Prime, definitely watch this movie. It's also on Tubi if you guys don't have Prime. But anyway, I'm about to sign out for today. If you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on my Instagram page, which is Walter Doom, or my Twitter, which is Walter Doom1. And other than that, this is another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. This is America. Don't let them catch you slipping up. Peace.